Rages of Sin is a death metal band from The Hague, and 3.5 years after their latest release, Divergence, they're back with a new album. Saligia is a concept album of 7 tracks about the 7 deadly sins. Sit back and strap in for a little over 40 minutes of gut-wrenching death metal. Rages of Sin have been around since 2009. The band started out as a death metal thrash formation, and with time their music evolved with them. Rages of Sin get inspiration from melodic death metal bands from the north, but try to add their own influence instead of copying other styles. Ingestion Regurgitation is just one example of that. The whole album is diverse, but a coherent album as well in lyrics as music. And while the 7 deadly sins are inspiration for the tracks, they aren't named after them, so you really need to listen to the lyrics to match them up. Saligia is a Latin acronym for the 7 deadly sins: Suburbia, Avarita, Luxuria, Invidia, Gula, Ira, and Acedia, or in English, pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, and sloth. The tracks of Saligia are based on those 7 sins, and therefore there are 7 tracks on the album. Not necessarily in the order described above though, since the first track, Skeletons in the Closet, seems to be about sloth. Gluttony is the theme of the 4th track, Ingestion Regurgitation. The musical order of these tracks makes total sense though. There is a nice build-up in intensity throughout the album, and Skeletons in the Closet is a good opening track. The track starts off strong with a great mix in which all the instruments are well defined, and the drums are hard and heavy and drive the whole track forward. Halfway through the song there's room for a few guitar solos and some headbanging to get us in the mood for the rest of the album. The riffs are recognizable enough to make you think of bands from the north, and definitely interesting enough to keep you wanting to listen to the rest of the album. Leech starts off with some more orchestration to give it even a more epic feel, and the thrash influences come through right away on this track. However, this is a diverse track, and while fast riffs make up most of the song, there's plenty of room for melodies and interesting breaks. For me though, after hearing this track, I was totally hooked on the album. And keeping it diverse, Silence starts off with an acoustic, almost Opeth-inspired riff and more doom influences. The scream-along part, The Silence Deafens Me, is an earworm that will definitely stay with you for a long time after hearing that track. With Ingestion Regurgitation, we return to death metal country again with some nice melodic riffs and headbangable riffs. The chorus for this track is the most melodic of the album, with even some clean vocals. If you listen closely, there are even some progressive influence in the melodies as well, showing the broad spectrum of musical influences Rages of Sin combine in their tracks. Monster of Riga starts with an acoustic intro again, feeling like the ballad of the album, however that only lasts for about a minute or so. After the intro we plunge into a heavily orchestrated track, which again reminds us of the Scandinavian scene. I'm not a fan of the almost heavy metal style vocals, luckily they are sparse. However, I do hear some Dream Theater influences around like 4 minutes and 20 seconds in. That might just be me because I'm a huge fan of Dream Theater. Speaking of inspiration though, Baptized and Sodomized really reminded me of Cataclysm's Narcissist. It starts off more as a trashy song, but halfway through that changes into an intense, dark and almost doomy vibe again. Final track of the album, Zero Sum Game, is also the longest track of the album, and it starts off with an epic intro, perfect for the closing track. The band gets help from guest vocalist David R. Kraft to make their final statements. For me though, the track is a little too monotonous to really make an impact. Final thoughts. I didn't know what to expect from Rages of Sin since I've never heard this band before. And I have to say, the Netherlands really can be proud of the quality of metal we produce. Rages of Sin is another great example that you really don't need to go see established names like Cataclysm to get great music. The quality of songwriting, the quality of the mix and the diversity in the track, it all exceeds our tiny country's borders. Personal favorites of this album are Leech, Silence and Ingestion Regurgitation. Check out the album on Spotify.